Good morning, everyone. There are many ways that people feel as though President Obama isn't using to stimulate and make the economy more robust. If you were in a position to do so, what would be the one thing you would do to stimulate and grow the economy that President Obama isn't doing?
Start, Congressman.
One thing?
Just well, 30 to 45 seconds each, so you can each have time to answer.
First of all, I'd go in the opposite direction on spending, on taxes, on debt and deficits. Get rid of all the uncertainty of the economy. He's promising huge tax increases on successful small businesses. I wouldn't do that. Keep taxes low and get spending under control so we don't have a debt crisis. If we have a debt crisis, then we have a huge interest rate increase. We have an inflation problem. That's causing uncertainty in the economy. It's making it harder for businesses to create jobs. So I would go in a different direction than he has gone on fiscal policy, and that's exactly what we've done in the House, is offered a different direction on fiscal policy. Keep taxes and spending low, not high.
Leaders.
Thank you, Erica. Hello. I was given a 3-year adjustable rate loan modification that ends in less than a year, and the rate is likely to go up significantly, where I won't be able to afford my monthly mortgage payment. I can't refinance my house or move into a fixed-rate mortgage because I owe more than the house is worth. My question is, what is your party in Congress doing to help Americans like myself who are stuck in this home mortgage process dilemma?
Well, I would just say, like Tom Coburn said, why is this happening? It's happening because the economy's in the tank. There's no confidence. People don't feel confident about the future, so they're not going out and taking a risk and buying a home, and therefore bringing your home value up. So this is a symptom of a bad economy. So let's fix the economy. And there's a lot of things I hope we get into about what is necessary to get this economy growing, because Washington's thrown a bunch of programs at you, and it's still not working. It's cost a lot of taxpayer liability. There's no substitute for economic growth and confidence in this economy to bring that market back up so you're not underwater anymore.
All right.
The most recent CBS News poll showed that 48% of Americans think the most important thing is jobs in the economy, but just 10% think it's the deficit. That's what we mostly hear from Republicans. We hear more about the deficit than we hear about jobs.
I wouldn't suggest that. They're interrelated. These are the same issues, so they're not exclusive of one another. Jobs comes from economic growth. Economic growth gives us more revenues, which helps us get down the deficit. The huge deficit we have is nothing more than tomorrow's interest rate increases or tax rate increases. So when government runs huge deficits like it is today, what that tells businesses who are sitting on capital and not hiring, look out, my taxes are going to go up tomorrow, or we're going to have an inflation interest rate problem tomorrow. And so it is these massive deficits that are showing businesses that there's an uncertain future with which they don't want to invest in. And that is why a lot of businesses are sitting on capital. I did a roundtable in Kenosha with business leaders last Thursday. Did one 2 hours ago with business leaders. All of them are telling me the same thing. We don't know what's coming from government next. So many new regulations coming down the pike.
They also
all these
don't know
new
what's
taxes.
coming from the consumer,
and so
though. There's no consumer demand for a lot of their products.
Say that again?
They don't know what's coming from the consumer. The demand that's coming from American consumers is very weak at this point, which is why they're not creating the jobs to sell the product or to manufacture it.
Consumption comes when people feel secure in their own lives, when people have jobs that they feel secure in, when they're not worried about losing their job. You need to have a good economy that is producing jobs and giving security, economic security to Americans who then will go forward and act like consumers. And so what we have right now is a government that is giving so much uncertainty. Tax rates on successful small businesses under the president's plan, which is in law, is going as high as 44.8% on successful small businesses. Most of our jobs don't come from the big corporations, they come from these successful small businesses. And when we're going to be raising their taxes as much as President Obama is proposing, that puts a chilling effect on job creation. When we raise and borrow all this money, 42 cents out of every dollar coming out of Washington, it's borrowed. 47% is coming from other countries like China. This is not a future in which people, businesses, or consumers feel confident in the American economy. We've got to deal with these issues so we can feel confident and get this job creation back on.
There's obviously a vicious cycle here, and it doesn't help that the U.S. economy is absolutely a consumer-driven economy. You talk about the importance of confidence. You talk a lot about small businesses. But going back to large businesses who are sitting on this cash, isn't one of the major issues also that they have learned how to do more with less, and it is not in their interest to hire people? Is there any way you can change that?
Well, first of all, predictability. I think large businesses, first of all, we're in the international economy whether we like it or not. And we have to recognize if we tax our employers, our producers, a lot more than our foreign competitors tax theirs, they win, we lose. Right now, we have the highest corporate tax rate, now that Japan is lowering theirs, than any other industrialized country. Right now, we are taxing our businesses, our manufacturers in America, a lot more than our foreign competitors tax theirs. And what is the government telling them? You're going to pay higher taxes. What is the government doing? Running up record deficits. That means even higher taxes. So even though the president's proposing over $2 trillion in new tax increases on these businesses, we still aren't solving our fiscal problem, and it's putting a chilling effect on hiring. So you're not going to get good consumption in this country if you don't have good investment, if you don't have confidence, if you don't have businesses out there not only keeping people on the payroll, but adding to their payrolls. And so we're in a vicious cycle, and we want to get on a virtuous cycle.
All right, we're going to have to...
Here since January. To the best of my knowledge, you've done absolutely nothing. There's no jobs program. You got unemployment at 9.1%. Why is that?
Well, we have divided government now. First of all, what happened in the last 2 years?
Well, there's always been divided
There was a
government.
there was a
lot
jobs
of
program. It
times.
was $1 trillion when you had the borrowing costs on stimulus. Remember what stimulus was supposed to do? It was supposed to keep employment from going above 8%. We're at 9.1. We went as high as 9.8%. What else happened? A tax increase, $800 billion in tax increases with the president's health care law. The health care law passed, which is basically the government taking over 17% of our economy. We've got new energy regulations coming through, putting a chilling effect on American-made energy to lower our gas prices. And so much has come from the government in the last 2 years. I believe that that is the greatest reason why the economy is not growing. What have we done since January? In the House of Representatives, where the two of us work, we've passed a budget to reform this tax system, make people take away tax shelters from higher income individuals in exchange for lower tax rates for businesses to create jobs.
But leadership
we put
continues
ideas
to
on the table.
change.
We've passed ideas in the House. We've said, here's how we think we balance the budget. Here's how we save Medicare. Here's how we create jobs. We're putting these bills out there. We're passing these bills because we think you need to do is lead with your ideas, defend your ideas, and what we're having is basically the crickets are chirping. We're not seeing any action from any of our legislative partners on the other side of the aisle.
Governor Haley looks like she...
Leslie has a question about Medicare.
Hi there. I'm 48 years old, so I'm in the age group that would be impacted to the changes to the Medicare program under the so-called Ryan plan. I'm also the caretaker of an elderly parent. It's common in my age group. How can I be certain that Medicare will be affordable for me when it comes time for me to retire, especially considering I've been paying in for 30 years?
Right. I'm the Ryan guy. So I guess I'll answer the question. A few facts that are not in dispute. Fact number one, we have 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day and fewer workers coming in to pay taxes to pay for the program. Fact number two, healthcare costs, they're skyrocketing at about 4 times the rate of inflation, which is threatening Medicare's current ability to provide affordable, accessible care. Fact number three, all the independent experts agree, Medicare's going bankrupt. Medicare, along with Social Security, I would argue, are the most important federal programs we have. And so what we want to do is save and strengthen the program. Here's what we say. Number one, if you have retired already, or if you're 55 and above and you're about to retire, government made a promise to you. We should keep that promise. So we say, don't change the program for anybody above the age of 55. But in order to be able to do that, in order to cash flow that promise, prevent that bankruptcy from hitting my mom who's on Medicare, my mom and I took care of my grandmother when she was Alzheimer's on Medicare. This is very important to me personally as well. You've got to fix it for the next generation if you want to keep it for the current generation. And the way in which we propose to fix it for 54 and below are to have a system that works like the one we have in Congress, like the one that President Clinton's Bipartisan Commission to Save Medicare proposed in the late 1990s. It's an idea that's had bipartisan support in the past. It's called premium support. It works just like Medicare Advantage today, Medicare prescription drugs, Medicare supplemental. You get a list of plans that Medicare pre-approves that are guaranteed coverage options that you select from. These plans compete against each other for your business, and then Medicare subsidizes that plan based on who you are. If you're a wealthy person, we don't think taxpayers should subsidize their health care as much as everybody else. If you're a lower income person, or if you're a person who keeps getting sicker, we think we should have increased subsidies. And so what we say is, starting for the 54 and below crowd when they turn 65, is take what we spend per person on Medicare, apply it to these people, adjust it, like I said, less for the wealthy, more for the poor and the sick, so that they can have plans to choose from and use choice and competition. Here's the alternative. The president passed a law. It's in law. Obamacare. I know people don't like being called Obamacare. The current health care law raids $500 billion from Medicare to spend on this new health care law. And then it puts a board of 15 unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats in charge of cutting Medicare for current seniors through price controls, which will lead to providers dropping care, which will lead to rationing, which will hurt the actual program for current seniors. We repeal the rationing board. We repeal the raid of Medicare. We think Medicare funds should go to Medicare, not other programs. How many times have you heard this on Social Security? And then we save it for the next generation so that we can cash flow the promise and keep it for the current generation. So when you turn 65, you'll have a program that will be there for you at the age you are, 48. I'm not that much younger than you. It's not going to be there for us if we don't do anything to save it. It is going bankrupt. The sooner we act on this, the better off we are, and the more gradual the necessary reforms are. It will be British austerity. It will be painful benefit cuts to current seniors, tax increases on everybody like young people that slows down our economy if we keep kicking the can down the road. And it is the political careerism around here that has put us in the mess we are in, and you need leaders to step up and stop doing this. We put a plan out there. I don't expect everybody to like the plan, but at least we put a plan out there, and I would love to see our partners on the other side of the aisle put their alternative plans on there so we can get to the business of actually solving this problem.
We need to kick